and welcome back to the Obsessive Maker podcast. My name is Sian and I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. I live here with my husband and now my in-laws who are staying with us for a while, and it's a brand new year. It's been a brand new year for 26 days and I have been using those 26 days to kind of take stock of what my intentions are for what I'm going to make in 2023. So although I've not come out chomping at the bit on the 1st or the 2nd of January with these plans, I wanted to take the time to really consider what my wardrobe needs would be, or what they are in fact, and what I would like to fill those gaps with. So today's episode is my plans for 2023. Okay, so let's just recap, shall we? Because the last couple of videos that I have shared with you have been about everything that I've made in 2022, as well as my intention to go no buy with my fabric and yarn. So really what I want to do this year, my plans are to use my stash to fill my wardrobe gaps. So I had looked through my wardrobe recently and I kind of was already aware of what my gaps would be, but I went through everything while I was preparing for everything I made in 2022 and I realized that a lot of what I need are kind of, well, what I would consider kind of boring everyday stuff, right? It would be amazing to say, oh, my wardrobe really needs something extravagant and colorful and fun, but ultimately that's kind of what I've been knitting and sewing for the last few years. What I really need are the basics. The basics being, I need jeans. I have been buying jeans since forever and I've attempted to make a few pairs over the years, but I've always hit a wall in terms of fit and I just haven't been able to mentally overcome that hurdle. And so my challenge this year is I want to make a pair of jeans. And if that goes well, I want at least 2 or 3 pairs. So jeans are top of my list. And saying that I have bought my jeans for eternity, I really want to kind of step away from the high street ready to wear jeans because ultimately they don't tend to last very long. And I really do want to kind of aim for a more conscious wardrobe rather than just filling the gap with something store-bought, if you know what I mean. But I tend to lean towards I need stretchy jeans that fit and hug my body, and I haven't been able to get over that in terms of finding an alternative that fits me well, that lasts longer, because the higher the elastane content in a pair of jeans, the quicker they wear out. So ideally I want to aim for jeans that fit me, but also that don't have elastane in them, or if they do, they just have a very minimal amount. And I have quite a collection of denim in my stash, so I want to make a pair of non-stretch jeans and a pair of slightly stretched jeans because I have both of those things in my stash. So the patterns I was thinking about when filling my jeans gap is I do want a pair of everyday skinny jeans. That's what I tend to lean towards. That's my comfort zone. Sure, they're not really in trend, or maybe they're not, the style of the moment, but they are a good everyday staple for me. So a few years ago, I bought the Megan Nielsen Ash jeans. Now, those jeans are a stretchy jean. They come in 4 different styles. So you've got your standard slim leg, you've got a skinny jean, you've got a flare, and you've got a wide leg. And I've seen quite a few people make this pattern before, and I thought it might be a good jumping off point for kind of stretch jeans. I've got the pattern already, I've got the fabric, let's just see if it works out. So I'm covering my everyday skinny jean basics. The next pair of jeans I wanted to make was to choose a style to use my Japanese selvage denim. So when we went to Japan back in 2020 before the pandemic, I picked up some lovely Japanese selvage denim, and I would really like to use some of this to make a pair of jeans. Now, Anna Allen Clothing just brought out a new pattern called the Helene jeans, and they are specifically designed for a selvage denim. And I'm glad I waited this long because I think I want to make them. They're kind of like a retro style high waist jean with enough ease in the seat, in the crotch, to actually move around. Now, the versions I've seen made by testers and other people who've made the pattern compared to the version that Anna Allen shows on her imaging for the pattern and on her website are kind of different. Now, she has aimed for a really tight fit on herself on the website, and so it kind of gives you this kind of I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like a little bit of false advertising that these jeans are meant to be worn really fitted around the hip, waist, stomach, and I'm all for that because everyone wants to look a little slimmer. Well, I'm assuming I want to look a little slimmer in a pair of jeans, and therefore the tighter they are around that area, generally it kind of sucks everything in. So I was a little bit in two minds about this pattern because of that reason, is that she has chosen a tighter size for herself, whereas people who've actually made it, like real people, not that she's not real, but real people who've actually bought the pattern and made it, the fit is very different. It looks very different on them. And so I was in two minds. I was going back and forth, didn't know really what I wanted to do. In the end, I decided to take the plunge and just try it. So that's my other option for jeans. I have lots of different tops. I have t-shirts, I have box tops, I have a few kind of fun, bold, vibrant print shirts, but I do need some basic, smart, businessy style shirts. And the reason I want the shirts is I want something that's kind of work appropriate, but also can be dressed up, and also things that I can wear, shirts that I can wear with knitted slipovers. Like, I've got that lovely weekend slipover hanging up over there, and the only thing I ever wear it with is a white Olia shirt that I made. And so as much as I hated making that shirt at the time because I was like, ugh, boring, a white shirt, I do need them. I need shirts in my life. So I have a few patterns, a few ideas of what I would like to make in terms of shirts. Years ago, I bought the Archer shirt by Grainline Studios. At the time, it was a limited size range. I think it only went up to size 18. I've since, I was already at the top of the range when I bought it. Since then, I've put on weight, you know, your body changes. And I kind of shoved that pattern to the side thinking it's never going to happen. Over the years, Grainline have tried to expand the size ranges on their existing patterns, but they were doing that really slowly whilst also bringing out new patterns with a full size inclusive range. So it's taken a good few years, but they finally brought one out, brought out an expansion to the original Archer shirt. So I downloaded that, and I think I'm finally going to make it. It's a good, simple, basic shirt pattern. I've seen it on lots of different bodies now, including the expanded size range, and I think it's what I want to go with. I have lots of shirting cottons in my stash, so I would really like to just make one or two of those. And then the other shirt pattern that I've seen, it's actually kind of listed as a jacket on the designer's website, but it is the Smith jacket or shirt by Style Arc. It's got some really interesting features. It's got a kind of pleat from the shoulder all the way down the arm to the cuff. It's kind of like a loose boxy fit. And I just really like the detail, the structure of the shirt and the detail, the really simple, minimalist detail, but that just make it stand out a little bit. So this could be used as either a shirt or a jacket pattern. And I would like to make that because it's a little bit of an interesting twist on what can otherwise be a fairly boring sew for me. And so yes, I thought those might be two good patterns to kind of start off with. And then my mind wants to go to something fun. I've been following Buried Diamond on Instagram for a while, and she makes the most fun, colourful, frilly shirts and dresses out of, you know, kind of pattern clashing Liberty prints. And I've got so many Liberty prints in my stash, and I've been wanting to make something fun and something fun and interesting and bold like that for a while. So I thought maybe this is my year. If I can insert a fun, colourful, frilly shirt into my wardrobe gaps, it will just kind of add a little bit of extra flavour in there. Because we've got to keep it interesting, we've got to keep it fun, otherwise you're never going to make them, you know. So yes, I don't really have a pattern in mind for that. Maybe I'll use the Archer or the Smith. I did actually buy a retro pattern a while back from Etsy, and it was a shirt that includes a bib detail, and it's a button down. It's got various sleeves and collars and features and things like that. I might use that because really the inspiration, not only did Buried Diamond inspire this need to make this type of shirt in me, but there is a designer, a clothing maker designer in my hometown of Braidwood, New South Wales, who uses Liberty print, Tunnelawn and things like that to create the most delicious kind of prairie-esque, country style clothing, really feminine clothing. And they're called Saloon Design House. And I'll just pop a little picture up here, and just to show you the shirt that I was looking at and kind of fell in love with. And I was like, ooh, I really want that. So that's a little bit of inspiration as well. So yes, just injecting a little fun into what I want to make. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a little sip of water. So the next thing that I really need, and I know this has mainly been sewing related, but I do need like work appropriate layers. In the office, no matter what time of year it is, the temperature fluctuates from hot to cold, and so I just need some kind of appropriate layers to be able to take on and off. So in terms of those, I thought that some knitting items could come into effect here as well. And things such as like maybe like a cowl, a knitted cowl, not so much a scarf, but something I can just throw on and kind of keep my shoulders warm, or maybe a scarf or more slipovers. So what I was thinking of is I'm already knitting the Amy slipover by Sanders Garn. I'm about a third of the way through that, but I really do like that style. If I really like it, once I've finished it, I'd like to knit another one, but probably in a Nutiden, because I have lots of Nutiden in my stash, as you're probably already aware if you've been watching for a while. I don't know if you can see it, but just up here, I've created some little thread spools with Nutiden, my Nutiden colors wrapped around them. So I have quite a few colors to choose from. So I'd like to make something out of those. And if it's not the Amy slipover, maybe it's something else. But I think, is it Katie Jack's Knits brought out a pattern called the Saturday Shrug, which looks like it's just a simple ribbed cowl in like a bulky or a worsted weight. And yeah, it can be worn as a cowl or slipped over the shoulders to kind of keep you warm. I like that idea. I like the simplicity of it, where it's literally just knitting in the round. You can use up leftovers, and I just really like the simplicity or the simple idea of that. And it's also something that I can knit on my commute. So yes. So work appropriate layers. And I guess that also kind of leads into the next section where I've got some wardrobe gaps. I need some kind of trans-seasonal jackets. So we kind of need layers here. So in spring and autumn, and even sometime in summer, like it's a summer's day, it's warming up now, but earlier I had to actually wear a denim jacket over my t-shirt to go out. But we do gonna need layers. So I can sew up some basic like turtlenecks or long sleeve t-shirts, but I think I need more jackets. I'm a bit of a jacket lady. I do love a jacket. I think a jacket can really change the style of an outfit and can turn something like some sort of everyday outfit can be elevated just by changing the jacket. I used to have a thing where when I was younger, in my 20s and living in London, I used to go and raid all of the op shops, or charity shops as you call them over there. And where I lived, I was actually quite lucky because I was living right in the middle of Knightsbridge in London and surrounded by op shops that had some really high-end clothing. And I used to raid the men's section because they had the most lovely, beautifully made men's suit jackets. And yeah, I just found the most beautiful pieces there for like, I don't know, £7. I bought an Aquascutum men's jacket for £7, which I think is the equivalent of like $14 Australian. And I wore that thing to death, and that was like my go-to wardrobe. I had the big shoulders, my sleeves rolled up. It was probably very 80s looking, but I just absolutely loved it. And you could find some really nice pieces there. And I think actually that was around the time of my sewing journey, because I started hand sewing some pieces, kind of creating some other pieces of clothing by cutting up like little silk camisoles and adding details to existing jackets and stuff. So I think that's where I got my kind of like my jacket vibe from. That's where I started to have like develop my obsession with jackets. So I've gone on too long about about that, but I think I need some jackets in my life. Yes. One of the most worn handmade items in my wardrobe is my Marimekko quilted tamarack jacket. It is my go-to in spring and autumn. It's just a lightweight kind of quilted jacket. It's cotton and it's got bamboo batting in between, so it's breathable. It's just a perfect trans-seasonal layer. So I would like to make another quilted jacket. I might use the tamarack pattern, I might use a different pattern, but I would really like to make another quilted jacket. And I've seen so many beautiful, inspiring kind of borrow denim jackets as well on Pinterest, and that I've had pinned for a while. They are just really beautiful. I'll actually put one here just to show you what I'm talking about. I would love to have the patience to kind of just stitch together all my scraps of all my blue fabrics with some lightweight denim and hand stitch them with sashiko and then make a jacket out of them. I'd love to do that ultimately, you know. So that's kind of my inspiration. I'd like to do something like that. And I actually saw a beautiful kind of unstructured denim jacket on a YouTuber, a Japanese YouTuber. Well, she's not Japanese, she's Australian, but she lives in Japan. Anyway, I saw it on her, and it's this just beautiful unstructured denim jacket, but on the back is this beautiful, I think it's hand painted like face, and I just love that idea. And again, I still have loads of denim in my stash, and I bought a few pieces, a few tenaguis from Japan while I was there that I thought would be a nice idea to use those to kind of put on a jacket. We'll see. Yeah, I want to make some interesting jackets. So anyway, the patterns I was thinking about for this abundance of ideas for jackets were the Paola workwear jacket. So that is a free pattern, and I'll put a link to it below. It's been made so many times. If you look up the hashtag on Instagram, Paola workwear jacket, or just Paola jacket, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just a really simple chore jacket. I love the look of it. I love the style. It can be used with so many different fabrics to create different looks and feels. I just think it's a really workable pattern. I've never sewn it myself, and I'm saying it's a workable pattern, but it could be, yeah, you can make so many iterations of it, and I just love the simplicity of it. So there's that one. I've already said I wanted to make a quilted jacket, and I might use the tamarack. I might not, we'll see. But I also wanted to make a shacket, and I'm sure shackets are on their way out, you know, in the fashion world, but I've got some boiled wool in my stash. I think I can just use maybe just a shirt pattern, or honestly, I could probably use the Paola workwear jacket pattern to make a shacket, but we'll see. I've got a few patterns in my stash. There's one from Sian. I've actually got one from Vicky Sews. I've got so many patterns in my stash that, yeah, I'm sure I can find something. And another one I have in my stash is actually the Pona jacket by Helen's Closet. It's one of those unstructured style jackets. It's a drop shoulder, a really simple collar with a facing. It's just a really simple construction, and I think that would work well for a lot of things. So yeah, lots of ideas, lots of inspiration. Let's just see what comes to fruition. I'd like to make at least 2 jackets this year. A quilted jacket would be a huge time investment, but worth it considering the one I've already got. I think I made it about 4 years ago. I've worn it to death, and I absolutely love it. So other transeasonal clothing I can make are cardigans. So I have a couple of cardigans in my wardrobe. They're kind of like the old lightweight Uniqlo washable merino ones. They're really good, and they're perfect for in the office, but they just don't fit me that great anymore. And I'd like to create some cardigans that function as jackets. So some kind of bulky weight, chunkier cardigans that I can just throw on instead of a jacket in spring or on milder days in winter. So I have lots of unspun yarn in my stash. I was thinking of making the Moreland cardigan, and I do have the pattern. I really want to make it. I do have a little bit of a mental block with the lace work, bobble work on the shoulder and the sleeves, and the way the pattern is written. I'm not really familiar with that style, so I've got a little bit of a learning curve, or just a mental hurdle to get over to start that pattern. But I would like to knit that up in some plotalopi, and I have this lovely it's kind of the ash gray, the light ash gray plotalopi, and it's kind of like my version of white. And I think it'd be really nice to have a cardigan, a white cardigan, just to create some a nice kind of clean palette, a nice base from which to develop the rest of the outfit. As you're probably aware, I'm a lover of bold, bright, colorful things, and I think this year I'm kind of going to lean more towards neutralish things when I'm trying to fill these wardrobe gaps. So yes, I'd like to use my light ash gray plotalopi for the Moreland cardigan, And I would also like to make the champagne cardigan by Petite Knit. It seems like a really simple V-neck, chunky, again, kind of chunky weight, well, DK weight cardigan. And I thought I might use either some undyed yarn that I have in my stash or some of the Nutiden that I have in my stash. So we have a lot of stash, and I'm not intending to use up all my stash in 2023 because I have too much of it to do that, and I'm not going to pressure myself to create and make for the sake of using up my stash. What I really want to do is fill gaps and use what I have. We all have busy lives, you know, we have jobs to hold down, we might have families, kids, responsibilities, things like that. The last thing I want to do is add pressure to make. So they're kind of the wardrobe gaps that I have and the ideas that I'm kind of hovering around in terms of filling them. But I do have a few other things that I want to make. I have a notebook that I like to draw up my plans and ideas in, and prior to summer I had a list of things I wanted to make, and I probably have made maybe 20% of them. Yeah, I probably made about 20% of them, and half made some of the others. But you know what, it's just, they're plans, you know, it's not a to-do list. So yes, so here we go. The other things I wanted to make for 2022.
It's not 2022, Sian, it's 2023. God. 26 days and I'm still saying 2022. Anyway.
So some of the other things I wanted to make and are on either my Ravelry Queue or in my mind that it'd be fun to have this in my wardrobe are, I would love a kind of like a nice flowy bias cut skirt to wear in winter. And I know that sounds odd, why wear it in winter, but can't you just imagine having a beautiful kind of silky bias cut skirt with a chunky sweater on top and a pair of boots? That's just like the kind of ultimate of winter femininity to me. And I'll probably never, you know, I may never get there, but I'd love to make a skirt. And I have this beautiful kind of mid-weight, heavyweight satin-backed crepe in my stash, in my fabric stash, that is like a rich kind of hot pink. So I'd like to make a skirt out of that. And something that's been on my Ravelry queue for a while is the Nordstrand sweater, and I've put it right at the top of my queue because it's the next thing I want to make. I've got so many whips on the go at the moment, it might not be for a little while, but as soon as I finish one of my projects, I'm going to cast that on because I want to get it made for winter. So in my Ravelry queue, and I will share it on the screen here with you now, I have the Nordstrand sweater. It's not in my wardrobe gaps, but I do really want to make it. I have the yarn already, I have the pattern already, and I just really want to make it. It looks like a lovely pattern. It's just got like a dash of color work, which kind of fulfills my need for something interesting in a knit. So I'd really like to make that. The next thing I want to make are the penny gloves by Petite Knit. I have a ton of, well, it's not really a ton. I have quite a bit of fingering weight in my stash that I would love to use up because I'm not going to make that many socks. So I'm sure that I have some fingering weight in there that would suit the penny gloves, as well as I'm sure I have some mohair as well lying around. So let's just use up bits of my stash to do that. And I can't go past a pair of fingerless gloves. Honestly, they are the most utilized winter accessory for me, as well as a beanie, because I have such small hands. My fingers are short, so normal gloves do not fit my hands. I have quite a broad palm and short fingers, so fingerless gloves are the way to go for me. So the next thing on my queue is the Moreland cardigan, which we've already talked about. And again, I'm going to be using, well, I intend on using some Plotaloby from my stash. And then, oh yes, the Fairy Bouquet sweater by Joanne Ang. I have the yarn already for this in my stash. I bought it, if you remember the episodes about the Bendigo wool and sheep show, I bought the wool for this, the wool and the mohair. So that's all ready to go. The other thing I wanted to make was the Starflake shawl by Stephen West. Now, I really do want to make a Stephen West pattern. I chickened out of the MCAL in 2022, and I still have the yarn for that, and I think the yarn would really work well with this pattern. So that's on my queue. And here's the champagne cardigan which we just talked about, so that's on my queue as well. And then I also want to make the Lugenser by Sanders Garn, and I have it, the pattern actually in the book, the pattern book that I bought, that I've actually am making the Amy slipover from as well. And I have some beautiful mohair from Sisleril. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I know that I have been corrected by Caroline from Caroline's Knits, so thank you, Caroline. I used to say Sisleriget. Anyway, so I've got some beautiful mermaid style mohair and some Peruvian Highland wool that I'd like to knit this pattern up with. And the next thing on the list is the Saturday Shrug, which I talked about as a possible like work appropriate layers to kind of keep me warm, easy things to kind of take on and off. And as you'll see on the pattern photo right here, it's something you can just pull over your shoulders to keep you warm, over a jacket or whatever, a blazer. It's really smart. I love that idea. Moving on. Is the Koyame, I think I'm saying that correctly. I love this pattern. I love the look of it. It's kind of got like a saddle shoulder with beautiful simple cable detail down the arm. I love everything about this, and all of the projects I've actually seen making this pattern, they all look stunning. This has actually been designed for Newt Eden and also mohair held together. I would like to use up some of my Newt Eden stash for this, and I would like to make it this year, but if I don't get around to it, that's fine. But it is a pattern I want to make. I've never knitted cables before, so I've got a little bit of a learning curve there, a little bit of a challenge. So yeah, we'll see. It might move up in the queue, you never know. And the next thing on my queue is the Pressed Flowers shawl. I've been wanting to make this for a while. I actually bought yarn, some DK sock matician yarn from Skeins in New Zealand to use for this pattern. I bought it last year. I started knitting it up, but I found that the weight of the yarn, the thickness of the yarn was just a little too bulky for the needles. Like, I didn't test gauge or anything. I mean, I don't really do that unless I absolutely have to. But I just felt it wasn't the right fit. So I'm thinking for this one, I do have some fingering and mohair in my stash that I can use for this pattern. Specifically, and don't hold me to this, but possibly the yarns that I was using for the Great Gingham Raglan that I started and discarded. So I think it's probably going to be like a turquoisey green with a purpley pink, but we'll see. That's kind of the idea I was thinking of when I reconsidered this pattern. So the next thing on my queue is the Halibut by Caitlin Hunter, and I just stumbled across this the other day. and I thought it's such a fun pattern that I would love to knit it, and you know, I'm sure I have something in my stash that I can use. If not, that's fine. I haven't bought the pattern, so I don't have I don't have it in my pattern stash. Yeah, but anyway, we'll see. It's way down the list. The order of the list may change, we'll see. So the next thing on my queue is the drawing sweater by Tomomi Yoshimoto. I love this pattern. I love the graphic detail of the flowers, and you can use some color changing yarn, or you can use up scraps to create a fade. It's a bit of color work. Yeah, I really love the idea of it. I did buy the pattern for this already, so it's in my pattern stash. I may get around to it, we'll see. And then I think I was going to say finally, it's not finally yet. But the next one in my queue is the Robinia sweater by Anne Wenzel. I really love, again, the graphic detail of this. It has kind of Marimekko-esque vibes to it, but also you can use it to kind of, not destash, what's the word? Scraps, use up scraps. And yeah, I really do love the kind of graphic impact that it has. I don't really like the balloon sleeves, but I get why they are that way, because you're knitting color work, and I don't know really how decreases work on a repeat kind of horizontal pattern in color work. Yeah, so I can understand why it's probably that style, but yeah, we'll see. Not a fan of the balloon sleeves. I do like the kind of boat neck style neckline. And then, no, not finally, number 14 is just the no frills sweater, just a simple raglan. I'm actually knitting up a simple raglan at the moment, the classic sweater by Espace Tricot. So this is way down my list because I'm already kind of bored with the classic. So, but you know, it's something that's needed in my wardrobe. So moving on is the zipper sweater light. Or the zipper sweater. Now I've knitted one for my dad already, but I do love the idea. Well, not the idea, I love the fact that it zips open. So on a cold day you can zip it up nice and warm, but if you're out moving around, going for a walk or whatever, and you get a bit warm, you can unzip it and just kind of cool off a little bit. So I love the functionality of it, and I think the style is really kind of nice, that utilitarian style sweater. So, and I actually, when I bought the zip for my dad's one, I bought a couple of zips in different colors for myself, because I was like, yeah, one day I'm going to make myself one of those. So I've got the zips in my stash. I got plenty of yarn in my stash. I could probably use some of the cone yarn I got from JC Rennie, so I can already see it now. Yeah, lots of plans. It's the follow through that is hard, because that requires time and effort. So finally, it is finally on my list. I was trying to look at patterns that I could use for my new Teden stash, and the Versal by Albiona McLaughlin is a lovely just 2x2 rib turtleneck, oversized. I think it's like a unisex pattern, and yeah, I just think it's a really lovely simple pattern. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my Ravelry Queue. So I'll stop sharing that with you now. But yeah, so as you see, I have loads of ideas of things that I want to make. I may not make them this year. They may, you know, get carried over into the oncoming years, but my focus this year, as well as using fabric and yarn from my stash, is to actually fill wardrobe gaps. So there we have it. They are my plans for 2023. As you can see, I have lots of ideas of how to kind of design those items that will fill my wardrobe gaps. And I have plenty of yarn and fabric to choose from. So I will share with you in my podcast what I'm making, and I hope you'll enjoy that as we go along. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. If you did like this video and if you like my content that I'm creating, please do like and subscribe. I always feel awkward asking that. As you can tell, I'm stumbling over my words. But if you do enjoy it, please do like and subscribe, as it does help kind of drive traffic to my videos, and I just want to share all of this stuff with as many people as possible. So thanks again for joining me. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, take care, have fun, enjoy the rest of January. Until next time.